Talking, please. One at a time. Respect your classmates. You have an exam number at Stanley. That's not the one you're supposed to use. If you use your final exam number, it will screw things up because then they'll have to give you another final exam number altogether. This happened to one student last semester who inadvertently used her final number on her midterm, and it created lots of chaos. So if one of you, or sorry, all of you will swarm, but if one of you can go to the register afterwards and just inquire, I think we can probably get this straightened out today. But they sent me to your, they sent me your exam number, so I have them at least, but I'm not going to show you. Okay, other questions? And as you can tell, my voice is still somewhat shot. I made it through my comma class. Hope I make it through another one today, but I think I'll do it. All right, again, your midterm is on, I have these two microphones, I feel ridiculous. Your midterm is on Tuesday. Please don't be late. If you're late, you can't take it. And that's for respect for your classmates. It's extremely distracting when someone comes in the middle of an exam and starts rustling papers and makes a commotion. So please take care to be here on time. Any other questions? I have to cover my mouth when I cough. When I cough, I think it's really loud. Okay. I want you to start this question, which actually gets at Kendra's question a little bit. Oh, it can't fit all. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's the question. You have a conveyance. O conveys A for life, then to B and her heirs if B survives A, and if B does not survive A, to C and his heirs. Which of the following are true? B and C have vested remainders both. B and C have contingent remainders. B has a vested remainder and C has a contingent remainder. B has a contingent remainder and C has a vested remainder. Or none of the above. Which of the following are true? Okay, another 20 seconds. Okay. Let's stop it here. Where did I fall off last time? Edwin, you next? Yeah. He's pointing at you. That's funny. All right, Edwin, what do you think the answer is here? Okay. Walk me through your thinking, please.
So, A has the life estate.
Okay.
And B has the remainder once they pass away. And then there's a condition to...
Well, Edwin, remind me for your notes last week. What's the difference between a contingent remainder and a vested remainder? What's the difference?
For it to be vested, the person has to be ascertained and there has to be no condition. So B is named and there's no condition to him getting it other than natural termination.
Well, let's read this carefully, Edwin, okay? It says, A for life, comma, okay? So without that, A is life estate, right?
Yeah.
And then it says, then to B and her heirs, if B survives A. You're smiling.
Yeah, I actually read that.
Oh, you didn't read it. So what's going on there?
There is a condition precedent.
Oh, there is a condition precedent. B only gets it if B survives A. That is, when A dies, B has to be alive. If B dies first, Edwin, does B's heirs get anything? So there is a condition precedent. So you want to change your answer?
Yeah.
So what kind of a state does B have here?
B and C have contingent.
Well, I didn't get to C yet, but just what does B have?
Contingent.
Okay, so B has a contingent remainder. Very good. Everyone see that, right? Because there is, in fact, a condition precedent. Oh, this is gonna be a tough one. Put the mic closer to my mouth. Okay. Andres, let's move on to C. What is C's interest here? Okay, C is remainder, that's right. Is the remainder contingent or vested?
Contingent.
How do you know that?
Because if B does not survive A, then C gets it. But if A survives B, then B won't get it.
Very good. C also has a contingent remainder. They both have contingent remainders. Okay, so the answer is B. Let's see how you guys did in this one. Oh, look at that. 80%. Very good. How did the number just change? Oh, I didn't close it. Ugh. Who did that? Who changed their answer? Oh, come on, guys. What are you doing here? This is actually example 7 in the book. Go to page 320. So it's not even a surprise. The answer's there. Okay? It's right there on page 320. And this gets the question that Kendra asked. You often have pairings, right? You often have what are called pairings. When you have a life estate followed by one contingent remainder, in almost every case, the subsequent remainder, the next remainder, is also contingent. These are called alternative contingent remainders. Memorize this, it will save your life. If you see that the first remainder after a life estate is contingent, you can take it to the bank. You can take it to the bank that the next one's also contingent. They're both going to be contingent. Right? You still have to walk through the analysis, whatever, but if you're ever not sure and you have no idea, you call them the alternative contingent remainders. Okay? Now, Kendra mentioned the opposite, right? What if the first one is a vested remainder? Okay? If the first one's a vested remainder, the second one is not a vested remainder. Okay? If you got these two back to back and the first one's vested, the second one's going to be executory interest. I'll explain why in a bit, but just if you want to put this in your notes, if you find the first one's a vested remainder, the one after it's going to be an executory interest. I'll do an example like that. Oh, actually, I'll do it now. I think it's number 8. Good, yeah. This is example 8. Okay, perfect. Zach, you want to read example number 8 for me, please?
O conveys to A for life and then to B and their heirs, but B does not survive A, which is
Okay, very good. We read this clause by clause, my friends, right? So Zach, walk with me, okay? A to A for life, A has a, what's A?
life estate.
Very good. A is a life estate, comma. Comma, then to B and her heirs, comma. Stop right there. Don't look at the stuff that comes after it. Then to B and her heirs, comma. What do we got there?
Remainder and something.
What kind of remainder?
Vested.
Why is it vested?
Just because A is
No, wrong. When I say why is it vested, there are 2 questions to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself those 2 questions. Don't just say, well, this or that. There are 2 questions to ask yourself. If you start trying to make it intuitive, you're going to be wrong. There are 2 questions.
Is given to an ascertained person.
Okay, is B ascertained?
Yes.
Check. What's the second question?
And then not subject to.
Okay. Now this is an important point, Zach. Is there a condition precedent there?
Not before that.
Yes, exactly right. Very good. Condition precedent means before. There is no condition. And I know this sounds stupid, but look at the commas. Trust me, if you follow the punctuation, you'll be in good shape. Then to B and her heirs, comma. You stop reading at the comma. There is no precedent. There's no condition precedent within that clause. So again, Zach, what kind of remainder does B have?
Vested.
Very good. So B has a vested remainder here, right? Now, Lucas, here's the harder part. It says, comma, but if B does not survive A, that is if B dies first, to C and her heirs, what do you call C's interest here? What's C's interest here called? What do you call an interest in a third party that cuts short? Very good. C has an executory interest. Okay? C has an executory interest. Why? Because C's interest cuts short B's. Right? So here we have B has a vested remainder. C has an executory interest. But let's be very precise. B has a vested remainder subject to C's executory interest. Let me write that for you. It's a little bit tricky. Right? This is example 8. Right? We know that B has a vested remainder and C has an executory interest. But let's be very precise here. B has a vested remainder subject to C's executory interest. What does that mean? C can cut short B's interest. How? If B dies first, C cuts short B's interest. I go back to the example. If B dies first, the second B dies, C cuts out that interest, and C gets it in fee simple. C's executory interest is waiting around for B to die. The minute B dies, it executes. It cuts out B's heirs. They get zip. And it goes upon A's death to C. Edwin?
So the first says subject to divestment, you want it to write subject to C's executory interest?
Mine is more precise. In fact, they'll explain a little bit later, but yeah. Subject to divestment means it can be cut, but if you want to be precise, it's subject to C's executory interest. In fact, I think it's actually easier to say it my way because you're saying exactly what the interest is, right? You say, okay, C has executory interest, B's remainder is vested, subject to C's executory. It spells it out much more clearly. They're both right. I think this one I gave you a little bit precise, but you're not wrong with the other one. It sounds really bad when you cough in the mic. So questions on example 7 or 8? Questions on example 7 or 8? All right. Oh, yes, ma'am. Julian.
So the executory interest is not considered remainder, correct? It's a term that is by itself.
An executory interest is not a remainder. An executory interest is a future interest that cuts short someone else's interest.
Okay.
Right? Very precise. If it's cutting something short, right? When you have a life estate followed by remainder. Again, remember the pairings. They're called pairings, right? This was Kendra's question a few minutes ago. They're pairings, right? When you have a life estate followed by a contingent remainder, in almost every case, there'll be a second contingent remainder. Okay? When you have a life estate that's followed by a vested remainder, in almost every case, you'll have an executory interest that follows it. Right? What an executory interest does is it cuts short the vested remainder. Not always, but almost always this is the case. There are probably going to be exceptions. You'll find one and try and stop me. So I'm going to say always, but there's a pretty good rule of thumb. Yeah, Megan?
Are remainders
No, no, no. You can have a remainder in life estate. You can have a remainder in any way you want. In example 8, it is a remainder in fee simple, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
And maybe I must have missed something. Is there a reason why there's contingent remainder listed twice under parents?
I'm sorry, I missed your question in the middle. Say it again, please.
Okay. Is there a reason why contingent remainder is listed twice under parents?
When the first remainder is contingent, then the second remainder is contingent. That's example number 7. Right? Let me spell this out for you. This pairing is example 7. And this pairing is example number 8. That make sense? Yeah, make sure you go back in your notes and you go back 7, 8, 7, 8, and understand the distinction there. Yes, Lauren?
It's just, I guess, the technical thing before, because how we say that we remainder in life estate. What would we say for when it's a contingent remainder? Do we have to add anything to that, like how we did where, from last time's example, where we said reversion subject to contingent remainder? Like, is there something that we should add to that contingent remainder?
You'd have to give me a specific fact pattern to give you the words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hesitate to give you something in the abstract, so it might be more confusing than it's worth, but if you find a question that does that, I'd be happy to give you the right words for it. Like it's hard to visualize in the abstract, right? Find me a question, I'll do it. All right, I want to come back to our favorite chart, our beloved chart, right? Which we spent so much time on. I want to add a little bit more. Okay? So I'm going to fill in the first few rows, 'cause I don't want to waste time again. If you don't know this by now, you're in trouble. The A and his heirs, right? Durations forever. Okay? And then A's heirs have the features. Okay? Oh, whoa. Not what I meant to write. Now the life estate. Here it gets a little bit trickier. I want to have a couple different versions. Number 1, from O to A for life. Okay? Who am I up to? Marcella, what's the future interest in this one? Number 1.
The future interest could be O as reversion.
Say it again.
Reversion?
Very good. Very good. And reversion in, to be precise here. Don't help her.
Sorry.
I can hear. My voice is shut. My ears are fine. Okay. O as reversion and be simple. And you know it's reversion because it goes to the grantor. Okay, very good. Let's do a second one. And Brooke, my format's going to get very janky, so I apologize in advance. It's not a fit one row. I have the same tendency. To A for life, then to B and his heirs. All right, Justin, what's the future interest here? Okay, to be precise, what kind of remainder is it? Ask yourself your 2 questions. Very good. Very good. Okay. This is a B as a vested remainder in fee simple. Whoops, vested remainder in fee simple in the grantee. And you know it's vested because there's no condition precedent and B is ascertained. Okay? Let's try this one. And this is for Samantha. To A for life. Then to B's heirs. What do we got here?
The future interest
Yeah, what's the future interest?
is these heirs have a remainder, a vested remainder,
Why is it vested?
because these heirs are asked.
Oh, yeah, it is. There it is. See, if you ask yourself the 2 questions, you catch it right away. You did it within. I saw it on your face. The second's like, oh. You want to modify your answer?
So nobody ascertained.
Because why isn't one ascertained?
Because B doesn't have any heirs.
That's right. Now if B's dead. I didn't put that, but if B's already dead, then B does have heirs. But as this is written, knowing nothing else, The heirs are not ascertained. So what kind of a remainder is it, Samantha? Very good. Right, B's heirs have a contingent remainder. Okay? Yeah, they're not ascertained. Okay? Yeah,
Why
Joy?
isn't these heirs ascertained? Because he has heirs, but he's still alive.
B's still alive, yeah. In other words, unless I tell you someone's dead, they're alive. But just as a general rule, if I mention someone, they're probably alive unless they die. That's a generally true statement, but in this case especially. All right, let's try another one, Kelly. Let's try this one. Let's try number 4. From O to A for life. Oh, life, God. Then to B and his heirs if he graduates law school before A dies. Okay. Samantha, what do we do here? I'm sorry. Kelly. Kelly. What's the future interest here? Okay, why does B have a contingent remainder?
Because B has to graduate law school before he gets it.
And what do we call that?
Or condition precedent.
Very good. There's a condition precedent, right? Now, Kelly, for the bonus question. What happens if B is in law school and he takes a while to graduate? Okay. What happens while he's in law school?
Are we saying A dies?
Well, A's still alive. Is there any problem there?
I don't think so.
Okay. What happens now if A is in law school and, man, he just could not finish his final semester and A dies suddenly? What happens then?
Reversion.
Who has reversion? Who?
Oh.
There it is, right. O's reversion. Very good. Don't forget that part. In these cases, very often where there's a contingent remainder, there's going to be reversion. Not always, but often. So if I'm asking you to discuss the estate and who has future interests, don't forget about the grantor. Because he's always there. He's like, hey, take another semester, right? Go study abroad, right? Actually, I'll speed up your graduation, but go reduce your course load, right? Whatever. Okay, I'm with me so far. All right. This table, nothing new. Piece table determinable from O to A, as long as Blackacre used for school purposes. And we know that O has a possibility of reverter, okay, which we know is automatic. Nothing new there. And then this one we have from O to A, but if Blackacre is not used as a school, O has right of entry. And we know that O has right of entry. Okay? I don't want to do those again. Not automatic. We've done those enough. Okay. But now we have the new one, right? This will be for Dylan. So from O to A and his heirs, but if A dies before B, then to B and his heirs. All right, Dylan, so what's the future interest here? Who has it? Okay. B has an executory interest. How do you know that? Well, what kind of interest does A have?
Simple, subject to executory interest.
He's right. Everyone see the question, right? I asked you, what is the future interest? He says, executory interest. What is the present interest? A fee simple subject to executory interest. It's a little bit circular, right? This is one of those cases where you have to figure out the future interest first and then go back and do the present interest. Let's walk through this one at a time. From O to A and his heirs. If I put a period there, if I stop the sentence right there, there's no question it'll be a fee simple. Okay? I don't put a period, a comma. But if A dies before B, Wait a minute, Josh, but if, isn't that a fee simple subject to the condition subsequent? No, right? It's not. How do you know that? Because it goes to a third party. Another one, B, right? Because it's going to a third party, it's not a fee simple subject condition subsequent. Look at these two, right? They're basically identical. If you start off, okay, let me just change this so it matches up exactly. Okay, I changed it a little bit, but make exactly. They're identical. And let me make even closer the same. Right? I think I made them identical, right? From O to A is heirs, but if Blackacre is not used as school. From O to A is heirs, but Blackacre is not used as school. They're identical. What's the only difference? The only difference is what happens after. In this case, O is right of entry. In this case, it goes to B. Heirs. Because it's going to a third party, you know it's cutting short its feasible fee. It's got to be an executory interest. And because the future interest is executory, the present interest has to be a fee simple subject to that executory interest. You got to walk backwards. Again, this is actually good. These are identical. They are exactly the same thing, right? They're 100% the same. The only difference, right? The only difference is what comes after. Copies for next year. I like the way I put these back to back. Okay. Everyone with me? Everyone with me? Any questions on this?
So when you say work these backwards, are we gonna look and see where it goes to at the end of?
You got to read it clause by clause. But before you can identify the present interest, you have to figure out the future interest, right? Because again, if you just started going first, like, aha, the same, fee simple, subject, condition, subsequent. If you looked at them, they look exactly the same. But if you go to the end of the sentence, they change. That's what you guys got to do. Assuming I'm going backwards, right? In other words, in order to distinguish the fee simple subject to condition subsequent from the fee simple subject to the executory interest, you need to know what the future interest is. Otherwise, they look identical. Andrew?
I was wondering if you could just scroll back up to the next thing.
Oh, sure. Which one?
The fourth one. I think it is that.
So questions on this. These are not easy. They're very subtle, but I think we've walked through these carefully enough. Oh, sure. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Is it a good way to identify like the fee simple subject condition subsequent as it goes back to the grantor and the fee simple subject to the executory interest always goes to a third party?
Yeah, that's precisely the rule, right? Can I scroll down, Andrew? You good?
Okay.
The difference, right, between these two future interests, with the right of entry, it goes to the grantor. With the executory interest, it goes to a third party, a transferee. That's precisely what you have to be looking for, right? It makes it a little bit easier when it says always right of entry, because it always spells it out right there. But this one's not going to be so clear. You need to know it. I was coughing from other class, and it's awful. Questions on this? This is nothing new. This is only a review. I'm going to start doing new stuff in a minute, so stop me if you don't get it. Oh, wow, 1, 2. Yeah, Lauren, and then Costa.
I have that question. So, from the example this morning, when we started class, when O conveys to A for life, then to B and his heirs if B survives A.
Hold
so
on, let me write this down. I'm going to lose it until over. Was this number 7 you're asking about?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to number 7, please. All right, go ahead, Lauren. Okay, what's your question?
So you know how B and his heirs have that contingent remainder?
Right.
So would that be a contingent remainder in fee simple?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. Why? Because if B does survive A, then B has in fee simple, and so will his heirs.
Okay.
Very good. Oh, Casa, yes.
So on the
on the fourth one in that chart for life stage contingent remainder,
Let me go back to it. Hold on. Okay, this one?
why why is O reversion and not possibility of
Say that again?
why is O reversion and not possibility of reversion?
There is no such thing.
Or reversion?
There is no such thing as a possible reversion.
Okay, but
Why is this not a possible reverter? When does a possible reverter exist, Costa? See, this is the mistake I don't want you to make. I'm glad you made it here. You want to say that O is a possible reversion because you might get it, might not. That's not a thing. It's called reversion, period. If you go to the next row, the possible reverter exists in O after a fee simple determinable, not after a life estate. When it's after a life estate, you call it reversion. When it's a future interest after a fee simple determinable, what do you call it?
possibility of reversion.
Very good. And please don't break my hearts. I don't want to see a single paper that says possibility of reversion. I'm going to see one, I promise. It'll happen. But try it. Don't break my heart. Just reversion after a life estate, possibility reverter after the fee simple determinable. Yeah, Lauren? What?
Isn't that reversion subject to contingent remainder? For the B has contingent remainder and O has reversion subject to contingent remainder? Like the one we did the last time?
Yeah. Yeah, O is reversion that's subject to B's contingent remainder. Yep. Yep, very good. Yep, exactly correct. Everyone see that? Why? Because there's no guarantee that O ever gets it back. O only gets it back subject to whatever happens to B, right? He's hoping that B slacks and doesn't graduate on time, right? Or that A is an untimely death. But it's not a guarantee. You can see why these get really complicated, right? You start stacking words upon words. Now, Lauren said, is this O's reversion subject to B's contingent remainder? What if it was a stacked double? So we give reversion subject to contingent remainder, subject to someone else's contingent remainder. You start stacking them. You see this gets very messy very quickly. But you're a very, very good question, Lauren. What else? Sorry, move on to new stuff in a bit. Okay. All right. The book has a very, very long and tedious discussion of the history of executory interests. You've read it. Good for you. I'll try to make some sense about it. You guys are laughing, right? It's actually important to know because this stuff doesn't make sense as a matter of logic. It makes sense as a matter of history. But there are these two terms that we're going to be covering for today. The shifting executory interest and the springing executory interest. Okay? These are not real things. Okay? They don't exist in any meaningful sense. They're merely used to help you. Say, wait, Josh, you're not helping me. I know. But they're designed to help you distinguish how an executory interest is functioning. So before I give you an example, before I give you a definition, let me give you an example. Okay? Go back to number 8, example number 8. Okay, we did this a few minutes ago. And we said, I think this was Zach or Lucas, can't remember who said this, that B has a vested remainder, right? That was subject to C's executory interest. And C has an executory interest. Now, there's a word here that I skipped over. Shifting, right? I didn't mention it then. I didn't want to get to it. Now we're going to do it. This is one thing I don't like about this book. It introduces concepts in not chronological fashion, and it does things, it repeats things. It drives me nuts, right? Okay. C has executory interest. Now, why is it shifting? Follow me here. Whose interest is being cut short? Is that Lance? Whose interest is being cut short? Okay, B. Okay. A shifting executory interest. A shifting executory interest is defined as cutting short the interest of the transferee. Okay, in this case it was B. In almost every case, the executory will be shifting. Almost every case that you guys find, the executory interest will be shifting. Not always, but almost always. Right? Because usually, the interest that's being cut short is a transferee. If you ever have to guess, right? If you ever have to guess which one it is, it's probably shifting. Okay? Let me give you a problem that illustrates the springing one. Okay? The springing executory interest cuts short interest in the transferor. Okay? That is the grantor, O. Okay? So I think I did this example last week, but I'll do it again for you. O conveys Blackacre to A for life, and to B if B gives A a proper funeral. Okay? So actually, this is a little bit different than the example I gave, but it's similar. So Alec, let's walk through this, all right? O conveys Blackacre to A for life, then to B if B gives A a proper funeral. So what is A's estate here? That's easy, right? What are the future interests?
So you get a contingent remainder. That would be his future interest.
Why is it a contingent remainder?
He is named, but it's,
Think about this. What happens immediately after A dies?
he gets the
Who's he?
B gets
When does B get it?
the after he gets the property.
So immediately after A dies, where's Blackacre go? Don't say revert, but there you go. Okay. Now, that's your life estate. Sorry. So O has reversion. Okay. This is actually Lauren's question a minute ago, right? You actually asked about this related.
Oh, reversion.
Well,
Reversion subject to contingent.
well, but subject to what though?
Subject to contingent.
Oh, no. Okay, we're almost there. No. I'll come back to you in a minute. Stephanie, so we know that O is reversion, right? What happens if B gives a proper funeral for A? What happens to O's interest? Cut short. What do you call a future interest in a third party that cuts short someone else's interest? Very good. So B has an executory interest, right? Now, let's be precise. O's reversion is one way of writing it, but what's the full sentence, Stephanie? How would we describe O's reversion? Does O have it forever? How long does O hold on to it for? How long does O hold on to it for? When does O lose it? It's crazy different. So then O's reversion is subject to what? Very good. O as reversion, subject to B's executory interest. Everyone see that, right? This is Lauren. This was your question, but now you see what I'm talking about. Right? I'll give you a second. O O has reversion. That's subject to B's executory interest. Why? The second B makes a funeral, proper funeral. By the way, whether a funeral is proper or not, that's a big question of fact, right? But let's say the funeral is proper. Once a proper funeral is held, it cuts. It's an executory interest, and it goes to B. B cuts short O's reversion. Right? If the funeral is never held, O keeps it forever. Right? But the funeral can be held, and then cuts it short. I'm guessing. Okay. Something, Lauren. I don't know who's first.
You said that if it is if A has a life estate, it's not an executory interest because you can't cut short. I'm just.
Think about it like this. I see your question, right? Everyone's here some this question. She's saying, wait a minute, Josh, you said after life estate, it's got to be a remainder, right?
Yeah.
What if I just said this or something, right? What if I changed the question a little bit? I think I see your question, right? If I said O conveys Blackacre to A for life, period. If I just said that, what's O's interest there? What's O's interest? Reversion. Everyone see that? Adding stuff afterward doesn't change that, right? After A dies, it's reversion to O. However, there's another clause. If B gives a proper funeral, B can cut short that reversion, right? It doesn't make it a remainder. It's a reversion the same way I did it before. Once A dies, it goes to O, reversion. But their version can be cut short by B's executory interest. Exactly. I know. You want to say it's a remainder, right? That's what you want to say. But it's not because of this question. Lauren, was that your question also?
I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay. I thought I had scratching head. Other questions? Megan?
Executory interest, springy?
Oh, I didn't get there yet. That was my next question, but the answer is yes. But I'll get there in a minute. Kendra?
How is O reversion not possibility of reverter? Because doesn't it automatically go back to him until B?
When does a possible reverter exist? What must the present state be?
Is it the fee simple determinable?
Is there a fee simple determinable here?
Oh, I guess not.
No, there's not. This is why, if you look at this example, it's easy, right? This is reversion. You've done that before. But we added this second clause, which makes the reversion subject to the executory interest. Everyone get that? I know this one's tricky. This one always gives students difficulty every year. Okay. Roxy, is that a hand? Okay. All right, Megan, you already spilled the beans. So, is this executory interest springing or shifting? Louder? I'm asking you. You see?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's springing.
Okay, that's correct. Why is it a springing executory interest?
Because it's cutting short the interest of the transferor, which was the original grantor.
Very good. It's cutting short O's interest. Okay? It's cutting short O's interest. And because it cuts short the interest of the transferor, that is the grantor, it's considered springing. This is one of the few examples I found that's actually a springing executory interest. They're very rare. They don't come up much. Okay? How do you distinguish in your mind shifting executory interest and springing? The only thing I've come up with is if you think of a spring like water comes from the ground, right? The grantor, that's where it's originally coming from. Springing comes from the ground, water, the grantor, right? Shifting is from one third party to another, between the two of them. But springing comes from the original, comes from the ground, comes from the earth. That's the best I have. They're not easy to distinguish, but that's what I have. Okay. Questions on this one? Questions? I know this is not easy. Everyone see this. I heard. Yeah. Go ahead, please. I want people to ask questions.
Okay, so we have this example here. We use that O conveyed by to A for life. This is from then to B and her heirs if B marries during A's lifetime. And we call that a contingent remainder. And you said the difference between a contingent remainder and executory is the life interest. Then why is it here that we have this
Which was that one?
This was from last class, the example 2.
I don't remember it, but what was it?
You said, O conveyed black acre to A for life.
Okay.
Then to B and her heirs if B marries during A's lifetime.
Was this it? I can't remember what it was. I want to make sure I get it exactly what it said.
Yes. Then to B and yes.
Okay. So okay, Blackacre to A for life. Oh, okay. The difference has to do with when the condition can be satisfied. Okay. So okay, thank you for reminding us. I'd forgotten this example, but it's a good example, right? In the first example, let me number them so I can talk a little bit less. Let's call this one number 1. And let's call this one number 2, right? Can a funeral be given during a person's life? Okay, right. You can't bury someone, well, maybe Kill Bill, right? But you can't bury someone during their life. Okay? So this one, the condition can only be satisfied after the death. So I think it's better thought of as if it were reversion subject to executory interest. The second question we did last week is that it can be done during life, right? It expressly can be done during the life of A. So I think it's better thought that if B does get married, right, that can be viewed as a contingent remainder. But they're very close, and I'm glad you picked this out. Very often, whether it's a reversion subject to an executory interest or a contingent remainder is going to be fact specific, right? And I'll tell you, there are going to be some examples you'll see where it's close how to characterize it. And courts litigate over these things for years because at common law, there were certain limitations on contingent remainders. And there are certain limitations in executory interest, depending how they work. So I'm glad you brought this up. It's a very good question. But I think the reason why these answers are different is that the funeral happens after life. But I can see either way. That you can argue probably either way in this one.
Yeah, I needed clarification.
I think that's right. Yeah, I had forgotten the example, but you're right.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? All right, let's try this example. We're doing examples the rest of the class at this point. We got another until my voice gives out, whichever comes first. O conveys Blackacre to A for life. I'll have that tattooed on my retina. Conveys Blackacre to A for life. Will be over and over again. Then to B and her heirs. But if B dies under the age of 21, to C and her heirs. Okay. Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit more. I always write Blackacre. I don't know why I do that, but I spelled every single time. Black hair. God. All right. I'm telling you here that B is 15, right? I'm giving you that fact. It's an important fact to have. All right, I think it's Harrison, you next. All right, Harrison, walk through this with me. So A is a state, easy. What does A have? Okay, very good. Okay, A is life is A, easy. Okay, now please tell me what B's interest is. Okay, you say B is vested remainder. Why is it vested, Harrison? Okay, and I want you to look at this very carefully, right? To B for life, then to B and our heirs, comma. Stop there. You know it's remainder because it comes after the life estate. There's no condition precedent, and B is ascertained. I told you he's 15 years old. So it's a vested remainder. Okay, but we don't stop there, Harrison. You want to finish it up? What do we know next? What does C have?
C has an executory.
Okay. Well, how do you know that C has an executory interest?
So if he dies under the age of 21, then C's interest will cut B's interest short.
Very good. B is only 15. Might get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? So C has an executory interest because he can cut short. Sorry. It's true. People die violently in this class. It's really bad. C has an executory interest, which can cut short B. So Harrison, finish it up. What kind of executory interest is this? There are two types.
Oh, it's a shifting.
That's right. How do you know it's shifting?
Because it's cutting short.
Bingo. Okay. Because it's cutting short B's interest, he's another transferee, it's shifting. And then if we'll be really precise, we'll say there's a vested remainder subject to C's shifting executory interest. All right. Everyone with me? Right, everyone's following okay here? And again, I mentioned these pairings at the beginning of class. If the first remainder is vested, you can be like 95% certain that the second will be a shifting executory interest. So even if you forget, right, you have no idea what the hell it is, it's going to be executory interest. Now, shifting springing, again, it's almost always going to be shifting if you have to guess. Occasionally it'll be springing, but it's going to be a fairly rare occurrence. Jolene?
The condition precedent, does it have to do with the syntax of the sentence?
Yes.
Does it have to do, okay.
Its syntax is commas. I know it sounds silly, but if you follow commas, you're not going to get misled. And I'll be very careful for your exam, which I haven't written your question. I don't know what it is. But I'll be very careful for your exam to use commas carefully. In the real world, people don't use punctuation as carefully as I like to. But at least for my purpose, I'll keep it neat. Questions? All right, go to page 333 in your book, please. And I think we'll do examples for the rest of the class today, and that'll probably take us till the end or one of my voice breaks. We're getting close to that time, by the way. I think it's 333, am I right? Example 16? All right, Rachel, you want to read example number 16, please? Example 16, yeah. Okay, very good. Don't read the rest of the sentence. If you read it, stop. Okay? What is this not? What, Rachel, are you going to be tempted to say this is, but it's not? You see, but if. What are you going to be tempted to write? What? Just, I know someone's going to want to do this, so we'll just get that out of the way. You see, but if, what just rings in your head? Yeah, you want to say, but if, Josh told me, right? The fee simple subject, the interest subsequent. Is that right or wrong? That's wrong. Rachel, what's the right answer? How do you know that? Well, Rachel, let's walk through this, right? It says, O conveys to a school board, comma. If I put a period there, what would we have? Right? Okay, it would be fee simple. We have this thing, says, but if the premise are not used for school, for the next 20 years, the town library. Who gets it if that condition is satisfied? The town library. Ah, there it is. She sees it, right? It's going to a third party. Because a third party is cutting short the interest, it's got to be, Rachel? You're right. Say. Very good. It's a fee simple that's subject to the town hall's or town library's executory interest because it's cutting short. Now, Rachel, is it springing or shifting executory interest? Why is it shifting? What makes it shifting? Very good. It's one transferee and another transferee. The school town, or I keep saying school, the town library is cutting short the school board's interest. So it's a shifting executory interest for the town library. And again, it's automatic. The second it's used for non-school purposes in this period, the school loses it immediately. There's no right of entry required. Everyone with me? Any questions on number 16? I'm already thinking about the next one. All right, Ken, do you want to read number 17 for me, please?
Yeah. O conveyance.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Sorry. Yes. Yes.
No.
O conveyance.
However you'd like.
So long as the premises are used for school purposes, then to town library.
Okay. So, what do we got here?
So, Hartford School Board has simple.
And don't read the answer, by the way. Yeah, the answer's there, but I don't want you to read it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay, interminable.
Well, I want to walk you through this, Kendra, okay? You see, O conveys to Hartford School Board so long as premise used for school purposes. If I just stopped it there, what would it be?
It'd be the fee simple determinable.
Okay, everyone with me, right? If I just stop the sentence here, it's fee simple determinable. But then you go on, right? You've never seen something like this before, have you? Because in every single case I've given you, the fee simple determinable, who gets it after the condition's violated, Kendra?
Well, the town library.
Well, usually where does it go?
Oh, it goes back to O usually.
Yes, exactly right.
So now it's going to a third party.
Yeah, so this is a little bit weird. So how would you characterize, what's the town library doing here, Kendra? Just as a matter of words. What's it doing to their fee simple determinable?
They're cutting it.
So what would you call the town library's interest here?
Isn't it shifting since it's a transferee?
Yeah, this is the case where I think you have an executory interest, right? You say the school board has a fee simple determinable subject to the executory interest. You want to see that, right? These are a little bit more rare, but you can have this. You can have an executory interest after a fee simple determinable. There's nothing wrong with that. You have a fee simple determinable followed by executory interest. These get tricky. Yeah, Lauren.
So, is the reason why, are we just like, I guess, inferring that so what it's saying is that basically if the school board doesn't use the premises for school purposes, then it goes to the town library, that's why it said executory interest?
The town library is cutting short the school board's interest.
Okay, but only if they don't use it for school purposes. Okay.
Yeah, so you can actually have a fee simple determinable followed by a executory interest. You can mix and match these in every way you can think. Right? There are some rules to start off, but you see the rules be broken very quickly, which is why the table cling to as much as they used to. Yeah, Kendra?
Aren't 16 and 17 basically saying the same thing though?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. The only difference is this one uses the but if language, which is consistent with a fee simple subject to the condition subsequent, or a fee simple. I said that bad. The biggest difference is when we see but if, that works in either fashion, right? Let's go back to our chart. Remember I did this before? But if and but if. That language works for either a fee simple subject to condition subsequent or a fee simple subject to an executory interest. But the second example, so long as, that doesn't usually work with this language. That's the difference between 16 and 17. All right? I'll say it again, I promise. 16 uses the language but if. 17 uses so long as. What's new about 17 is it starts off with a fee simple determinable, as opposed to a fee simple subject to an executory interest. Right? Let me write this out very carefully, right? With example 17, A has a fee simple determinable subject to B's executory interest.
Do we need to include shifting?
She always wants that in me, yes. And B has a shifting executory interest. Always keep me honest. I appreciate it. So you see, 16 was, I'll just type them back to back so you have them in your notes. 16 was that A has a fee simple subject to B's shifting executory interest, and then B has a shifting executory interest. Now Kendra asks, Josh, aren't they the same damn thing? Aren't they the exact same thing? Yeah, they are. They're identical. The effect of them is precisely the same. If you look at my notes, they're the same thing. That's why I have my notes. Yeah, they're the same thing, except for the way they're labeled, and that actually makes a difference because, as your long reading would reveal, at various times, different kinds of estates protect in different ways. So a fee simple determinable might be protected one way, whereas a fee simple subject to executory interest might be treated a different way. But Kendra, you're 100% correct. Same damn thing. Rachel, then Jolene?
So, you said in history they were treated differently?
Yeah, and I don't want to have to go through the details why, but they were.
But today they're not?
It depends. Different jurisdictions sometimes treat them differently. For our purposes, they're treated the same, but there are some states where they have different treatments of these various interests. And I'm not going to give you a 50-state survey, but for our purposes, they're the same. Jolene.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to make my question make sense. In 16, there's a comma after the school board.
Uh-oh.
If there was a period there, you would simply have fee simple.
Yes, ma'am.
In 17, you don't have that comma. The condition is included. Is that why in the statement before you get
That does make a difference, yes.
So that's why you ended up with two different types.
I think so, right?
Okay.
To beat the horse, right? So long as this is all in a single clause without separation by a comma. So I think it's best read as a fee simple determinable. Whereas here, the condition comes afterwards, right? But it's not a fee simple subject to condition subsequent because the future interest goes to a third party. It's got to be executory interest. In other words, you can't have a fee simple subject to condition subsequent if the third party is getting it, right? It's only with the O as right of entry, which is why in every case I was very careful always to give it to you like this, right? Where it always says right of entry. Unless you see I say always right of entry, it's not a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. I always put this in there deliberately not to mess this up. See, I'm seeing 2 weeks down the road of where you're going to wind up, but I always phrase it like that. One semester I made that mistake, and I'm not going to make that one again. I didn't do that once, and they said, you did this 4 weeks ago. I'm like, sorry. Lauren?
I guess it's sort of hypothetical, but it's like, with the example 15, when it says, but if usually that's under the equal substitution subsequent.
Yeah.
And so, if it were to say, let's say if you added on to like to the town library, and then as long as they would they have that same condition, like they would have to use the premises for school purposes as well, right?
I missed your question, Middle. I'm sorry.
Like could they put a condition in there that says that the town library also has to use it for school purposes?
Oh, you mean add a second condition to it?
And then if it doesn't, would it be a right of entry subject to
Oh boy. All right.
town library executory?
Lauren wants makes this more complicated, right? So you ask, I'll answer, right? So let's try this. All right, let's try this. So like that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you're going down the roads of the rabbit hole, right? Alice in Wonderland. But but this is what you were asking, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, because I wonder, like, what happens, like,
Yeah.
because I know you said there can be two future interests at the same time.
I think this would probably. I don't know if this would be a right of entry. I think by that point it would be.
It would just be a regular future interest.
I think at this point it'd be executory. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. You call it a right of entry, but I think at this point it's an executory interest. Don't worry about this one. I was trying to understand Lauren's question. Don't worry about this one, okay? But I like what you're thinking. Charlie?
The next 20 years really has no bearing.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. Well, it does, because after 20 years, it's free and clear by the school board. So, you're going to go there, right? The town library's executory interest only exists for 20 years. That's why it makes a difference.
Is there interest that has like a timing on it more than anything else?
Yes, yeah. So,
What was his question?
His question was, do you call an executory interest something different if it's subject to a term of years? Yeah, it can be a shifting executory interest subject to a term of 20 years. I don't want you to do that, but you have to be precise, because the executory interest isn't forever. It ends after, it can only cut short for a term of 20 years. You can phrase it different ways, but I think that's generally how you'd probably phrase it. But I like where you guys are thinking with this. Yeah.
Are we gonna do like, no, okay, yes, we can, but for property 2?
So, Property 1 and Property 2 are very different classes. I teach both of them. There's almost nothing in this semester that carries over to next semester. Very little. It's not like torts or contracts. They're very different classes. A couple concepts here and there, but they're distinct. You may even have it next term, but they're very distinct classes. So, but you still need to know it. You can't not know it. You're stuck with me for another couple weeks. It's hard in a different way. Property 2 has a lot of hard points that are very different than this one. So it's most schools, property is a single 4-hour class, which I would prefer, but we have 6 hours stretched out. So there you go. Ask me when we first have common law. I think there are more common law, less property, but we'll leave that here. Can't fit all the common law into 4 hours. It's not possible. All right, let's do more examples. Go to page 334. There are a bunch of questions, and we'll take these out one at a time. All right, who am I up to? Sidri next. I'm sorry with the bus example. I saw you're very disturbed by that one. I once had an exam question where all these people got trampled at the rodeo. It was bad, and people got upset by that. But go Texans, right? So read number one. Okay, just pause it for a minute, right? So you can imagine, right? At some point, you're all going to be lawyers, and someone walks into your office and says, "Here's what I want to do," and they give it to you like this, in a way that a human being could probably understand what they want. Your job, if you choose to accept it, is to translate that into language that hopefully a court can use to implement the intent of the decedent, right? We often make fun of people who draft their own wills. Look, even lawyers screw this stuff up, right? Mrs. Jessie lied, right? No fool, wasn't a lawyer, but I thought, conveyed her thing well. So this question has these facts, right? He wants to give Wiseacre to his son for his life. And then on his son's death, he wants Wiseacre to go to his children if they're alive. But if none of them are alive, then to his other child, O, daughter, named B. Okay, Sidra, so read letter A. Okay. Okay, keep reading. Yeah, thank you.
At the time of conveyance, A is alive and has no children.
Okay. So, Sidra, let's walk through this one step at a time, right? What is A's interest here?
They have life estate.
A is life estate. Very good. Okay. What follows the life estate here? It's a remainder. Good. What kind of remainder? What are our two questions? You have to talk a little bit louder. People can't hear you.
Oh, is it if someone's ascertained?
Okay. Who are we asking as ascertained here? Okay. Does they have any children?
No.
So is this remainder vested or contingent? Louder. Okay. That's right. The remainder for A's children is contingent. Why? They're not ascertained. Now, Sidra, finish this up. What do we know when the first remainder is contingent? What's almost always going to happen afterwards? Yeah, the alternative contingent remainders. And if you don't remember that rule, that's fine. But it goes to B only if A has no kids at his death. Condition precedent, therefore it's contingent. So we say A is life estate, B has contingent remainder. Sorry, A is life estate, A's children have a contingent remainder, and then B has a contingent remainder. So you have two contingent remainders in a row. So, Joyce, what about O? Does O have any interest here? It's a hard one. What happens, Joyce, if B dies first? If B dies first, B dies while A is alive.
If B dies first, it goes back.
Louder?
If B dies first, it goes back to home.
Yes, that's right. What do you call that?
Reversion.
Bingo. If B dies first, O is reversion. Right? So your interest. A is life estate. A's children have contingent remainder. B has a contingent remainder. And O is reversion. Always remember O. Don't forget about O. Very often, Mr. O came to your office. We'll get it back if stuff doesn't go to plan. Now, did this accomplish what he asked for, Joyce? Did this accomplish what O asked for?
No.
Not exactly, right? Because B only gets it if she's still alive. I suspect what O wants is that B's kids might get it. But if B dies first with his conveyance, it goes back to him, which is probably not what he wanted. If I had to guess, O's like, I never want to see this ever again. Let go my kids. Jolene?
If B dies before A would have to die first before there's a reversion to O, correct? Because A is still in life estate.
Right, but then A can still die without kids.
I'm sorry.
If A dies without children and B's already dead, it goes back to O.
Got it. Okay.
How does B's, if she has any, how does B's heirs not inherit her interest?
This is the trick. It doesn't literally mean B's heirs. It means B has a fee simple. Right? Don't be misled by the words. But B only gets a fee simple if she's alive to collect it. If B's not alive to collect it, she gets nothing. B has to be alive to collect her fee simple. Everyone with me?
No. Why does B have to be alive?
That's the rules. B has to be alive if B dies first. Right? B and her heirs means fee simple. It doesn't mean it goes to B's heirs. That's why the phrase and her heirs is confusing. It means if she's alive, she gets a fee simple. You don't like it, do you? B's kids are out of luck if their mom dies first. Jordan?
So you're saying if you wrote in there to O's daughter, B and the heir and her heirs, it still wouldn't go to B's heirs. If
B's got to be alive. B has to be alive. Those are the rules. And one at a time, please. Yeah. And then
You
Lauren.
just add in another line that says, then if, or but if B is dead, then to
Yep.
B's.
And you say, but if B is already dead, then to B's heirs. You could add that, but that would be a new addition. Which is why translating a client's request to words is not so easy. Lauren, you have a question?
Couldn't they have just said then to B's heirs? Or
Well,
would they go
the
against-
problem is, right, if they said to B's heirs, B would have to be dead to ascertain her heirs. So while B's alive, she would not get anything.
Okay.
And the father said he wanted to go to his daughter. So I think Anne's suggestion would probably be good if they added here a sentence that said, but if B is already dead, then to B's heirs. Something like that, I think. Joey?
So if it said just B's heirs, then
B would get nothing.
O would get
Hold it, yeah, until B dies.
until- got it.
So basically then, O would have reversion that's subject to the contingent remainder, I think. Who's that? Cheyenne, read the next paragraph, right? It says, 2 years after, yeah, read that, please.
2 years after the conveyance, twins C and D are born to A, what is the state of the credit?
Ah, so now there are kids. Has this changed the question? How does this change the question? So before you had two contingent remainders stacked, one after the other. What do we have now? Why is it vested? Okay. C and D now have a vested remainder, right? Because they're alive. Now, Cheyenne, I said C and D have vested remainders, but the conveyance has aged children. What interest, or how would we characterize the future interest for A's children? The answer is different. What do you call a vested remainder where more people, more children can be born to enter the class? What do you call that? What's that phrase? What do you call that? Very good. So the class of children, right? What we call a vested remainder that's subject to open. You have 2 kids. They're alive. So the remainder is vested. No question about it. But the class of children is called a vested remainder that's subject to open. Why? A could have more kids. Okay, everyone with me?
That's the remainder subject to open.
Yes, sir. Vested remainder subject to open. Right? Everyone with me? Everyone understand why? For the children. Now, Madison, what then is B's interest? This is tricky. What is B's interest here? When the first one is a vested remainder, what comes after that?
We're talking about is C and D are paying to.
Well, C and D are alive at the time of this conveyance.
Yeah, so we're asking about B.
Yeah. What's B's interest?
Would it, is it a shifting?
Wait a minute, but Madison, how can, if A has children, why would B ever get it? What can happen?
If they die.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, they can die. Poor Sidra, right? If C and D die, A can still die childless. Say it again. If C and D die in a tragic car wreck, right? At A's death, there are no kids left. So you have a shifting executory interest, right? B has a shifting executory interest.
But that's only if the kids die before A.
So I'm asking you at this point in time, how do we characterize the interest? So I'm going to write this sentence. You're going to hate me. All right? So A has life estate. Okay? The children have a vested remainder subject to open. Ready for this? And subject to complete divestment by B's executory interest. Shift join. B shifting executory interest. Can't write that. Okay? And then B shifting executory interest. Gets even worse. How about O? What's O's interest here? Well, O had a reversion before the kids were born, right? The kids were born, what happened to O's reversion? This is not obvious, right? O has reversion that's divested from birth of C and D. Because O's like, oh, this is awesome. If A dies, I get it, right? The kids are born, O's reversion is divested. Okay, well, if the kids then die, and then B dies, or his entire family dies except for him, O's reversion, he wins. See how? Yeah, Kendra.
What if children, or does it not?
Only the child of A matters here.
Because they're mentioned.
It mentions children of A, right? That's the question we have. Children of A, grandchildren are relevant.
But if it would have said heirs?
It does say.
Children, heirs, that means feast. When they say and their heirs, so here, let me give you if you're right. Assumption of fee simple. That's the error. Actually, I had that in my notes. I didn't type it because I don't want to confuse. It's there. Okay. The N is means fee simple. Means C's kid. That does not. Don't go down that road. You're going to confuse yourself. It only speaks of the children. When they say the children and their heirs, that means the kids get in fee simple. It does not mean the children's children. Sorry, I keep switching. I can only do so many things on the screen at once. Brittany, then Jordan?
For clarification, when you see children and its heirs, it's referring only to fee simple. But if you see B and its heirs, it literally means B and his heirs in fee simple, and his heirs we get it. So only if it's attached to an ascertained party.
No, in general, and his heirs signifies that B has fee simple. But the key point is this: when you have a fee simple, you decide who your heirs are, and you can control the future interest. Right? That's the precise point, right? When it says to B and his heirs, that means B has it present and controls the future interest. That's what fee simple means, right? It always means that B can control it. But here, the kids don't have it in fee simple. They only have a remainder in fee simple that might be divested. There's no guarantee the kids ever decide who their heirs are. Because if they die first, they never get in the first place.
So, when you're... Sorry. So it would mean essentially that when O is conveying...
Yeah, let me go back to the language.
Sure.
Okay.
When O is conveying it to A for life and then to A's children, etc., or O to A for life and B's heirs, etc., O is not essentially saying that I'm giving it to B's heirs.
That's right. I am giving you... Exactly. That's what fee simple means. Everyone heard Brittany's questions. Very good. When I say, right, from O to A and his heirs, right? O is not saying I'm giving Blackacre to A's heirs. I'm saying, O, I'm giving it to you for your life, and you get to decide who happens after you're dead.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm giving you the present interest and the ability to control the future interest. That is why it's called fee simple. That's what and his heirs means. He gets to decide who his heirs are. It's not giving it to the heirs. It's letting them have that power for the future. That is the essence of a fee simple. Make sense? Jordan, I think your hand was up also. And I know we're back to 30. Just hang tight. Just move everything for a minute. Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
I had a question about the divested of the birth of B and C, or C and D.
Yeah.
O, reversion is divested. I mean, but O can get reversion back as well as
He can.
die.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be divested, but it can be undivested. Yeah. The O's interest comes and goes as the kids live and die. It's gruesome, I know, but it's very true.
So it's not permanent.
No.
So we don't have to explain that it's not permanent, or is that just to read it in the lines?
Here, let me make this a little more precise. O's reversion is subject to divestment on A's children outliving A. Right? I think I didn't want to write that, but I'd be happy to. That I think would be a precise way of saying it. Because you don't assess whether the interest is gone until A is dead. And only on A's death do you decide if there are any kids surviving him. And?
So just to clarify, so if A gets killed and the kids are still alive, then B's interest is gone.
B's got zip.
So A can leave it to their, best friend, Bob, or whatever.
Yeah.
B or C, whatever. A's children.
Yeah, guys, just 2 minutes. Just please, so we'll finish up. Brenda, yeah.
This is not to do with this. I emailed the registrar.
Uh-huh.
And so she emailed back and said, if you download the spring 2018 version of Exemplify, you go in, you have to log out, like go to the little part where you have to log out and log back in. It will populate your new exam number. They're not giving it out to us directly. If you are writing in the blue book, then you can go there and pick it up. But if not, it's already in Exemplify.
Okay, everyone understand? So when you download ExamSoft and you log out and log back in, it'll tell you what your number is. But if you want to write by hand, I don't encourage it. But if you want to talk to the registrar, they'll give you your number. Is that correct?
Yes, and you'll know that it's the right one. It starts with a 200. You'll know that it's the new exam number. So they won't give it to you directly. It's just an Exemplify.
Good luck, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it.